going on, guys? This is the Tactical Den Malachi James podcast. I'm your host, Malachi James. It's been a minute since I've tried to sit down and do this podcast. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very, very long time, and I'm trying to get a couple guests on here so we can do that as well. This podcast right now is just going to be the welcome podcast, kind of going into what the podcast is all about, different things I want to do with the podcast moving forward. Let me get a sip of coffee real quick. Okay, I'm a little bit sick, so you can probably hear it in my nose and stuff like that. Doesn't sound great. Sounds pretty bad, actually. So if I'm sniffing throughout this entire thing, that's why. So, so this podcast is going to be found on YouTube mainly. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to Spotify or anything like that, unfortunately. But hopefully in the future we'll be able to get some video podcasts out as well, so you can listen to it and watch it when I have guests on, so it's not just me sitting in a chair with you guys looking at me, because that would be kind of awkward for both of us, I think. But yeah, in the future, I want to get Colin Pulick out here onto the podcast. He's a based guy. I want to get the Pixel out on the podcast as well. His name's Luke. He's really awesome. Me and Pulick have done some songs. You can find our song on YouTube. It's really, really, really great. We have another song that we're working on right now, and that will be out soon as well. We're kind of making like a little bit of an album. I think that'll be really awesome. So yeah, he's going to come on the podcast and we'll talk about the song we made. We'll talk about a few other things, some short stories, stuff like that. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming. One thing that I wanted to bring up was what this podcast is actually going to be, what it's going to be about, what we're going to do in the podcast, and different things like that. So let's dive right into it. The first thing that I want this podcast to kind of be is kind of like a catch-all. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, like, it's not going to be specifically just tactics. It's called the Tactical Den, but the way I see it, it's not really like it's the Tactical Den. It's kind of like the Tactical Den. So that's kind of like where we're hanging out, where we're chilling. We've got some guitars, we got some guns, we've got like some plate carriers and stuff like that, some gear, really awesome. So like an awesome like sort of vibe. I want it to be the vibe of the podcast, not necessarily what the podcast is all about. So that's kind of where the name came from. I think it'll be really awesome. You can see like the skull and has the guitar in the background is what the kind of like thing for what the podcast wants to look like. That's kind of like the picture I've kind of made for the podcast, which will be up for the actually, you can see it's the icon. And the cover of this podcast as well. So that's kind of what I'm working on. So with that kind of aside, what we're going to do in the podcast, a few things. We'll probably talk about music. We'll probably talk like, the different music I'm writing, what it's going to sound like, when it's coming out, some behind the scenes on the music stuff as well for you guys that are, special and actually listen to the podcast. Sorry. Excuse me. And on top of that, we're going to be doing some short stories that we'll be writing. We'll be doing like some writing short stories and then talking to each other about the short stories, just because like short stories are really fun to write. I've been writing a few of them recently. I think they're really cool, and I think it's a great way to get like these little imaginative, yeah, that's the right word, imaginative blips of fiction or historical fiction that you want to get out. I just recently wrote a short story called Trench. I'll be reading it on the podcast within the next couple podcasts. I'll be reading that on the podcast, so that'll be really awesome. Another thing, Colin wrote a short story. Pixel wrote a short story. Those are awesome. We'll be reading those. We'll have a podcast set aside we'll just go over a few short stories, and I want to have like little challenges of who can write the best short story in like the certain amount of time. Just little things that we can do. So as I was saying, the podcast isn't necessarily just one thing or another. You can go through the podcasts and find a certain one that you want to listen to and listen to that one. And if you want to like go out of your comfort zone, listen to a couple other ones. Of course, there's going to be podcasts talking about tactics and stuff like that we're doing, which is really awesome. I'm on the path to becoming a security forces officer for the United States Air Force. That's what I'm working on right now. I've already, my story for the military is kind of weird. I was already enlisted and then I left and now I'm going back, but I didn't go to being, it's weird. that story is going to be on the podcast. We'll be talking about that too, and you'll learn with me, and you'll go through that entire process with me as I go through the journey to become one of those based men. So yeah, do that. Stick around for that, and that'll be going through. Obviously, during that time where I'm gone, doing training and doing stuff like that, podcast is going to be very limited. Music's going to be very limited. You're probably not going to hear much of it. I'll probably give it over to Pixel, so Pixel can probably continue these podcasts. At least get like another one out during the time that I'm gone. I'll be gone for a while, so that'll be really cool to have like maybe Pixel do that. Yeah. Moving forward, let me get a sip of coffee again. Excuse me. Definitely don't feel great. Yeah, so moving forward, though, the next podcast that I would like to get out will be with a guest, like the Pixel Cook or Puric. That'll be a dream come true to have one of those guys on the podcast with me, the next podcast that we run. Probably will have Puric on, then possibly Pixel, but I'd like to get both of them on at once. That would be great. That would be awesome. Another thing that we can add to the podcast that I'd like to add to the podcast is some games. A lot of you guys out there like video games. I like video games. I grew up playing numerous video games. Nintendo was huge for me, like growing up playing Nintendo games. That was awesome. I love that. I'm sure you guys, if you guys are on the same age group of mine, or even a little bit older, even a little bit younger, you all know what Nintendo is. And I'm not talking about the Nintendo, the brand. I'm talking about the Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? Like the SNES, the NES, the SNES, the SNES, that kind of stuff. The GameCube even. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'd like to get some podcasts out talking about different games that we've played. Me and the boys like to get together and play some Smash Bros. And do stuff like that. But at the same time, we've all played a certain amount of games. I'd love to geek out with Pixel over Zelda games. I'd love to do that. As I'm saying, this is kind of just the tactical den. It's where we can get together and talk about different things that are our interests, our hobbies, stuff like that. I think it's a great way to get reach out to the community, especially the community that listens to my music, and we can all just get together, learn a little bit more about each other. And you guys are more than welcome to comment any questions that you have for the podcast in the comment section of the channel, and I will get to those the next podcast. So if you want to have questions answered, write the questions in this comment section of this podcast, and then the next podcast we'll have a Q&A section. I'd love to have every podcast have a Q&A section. So if you guys want that Q&A section, write questions. I don't care what they are. It could be something as simple as, hey, why is the sky blue? I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, ask, stupid questions, get stupid answers, unless, you're talking to me directly and you're wasting my time. But on a podcast, 100%, I'll go for it. I'll answer any question. It gives us something to talk about, and it gives you something to listen to. Moreover, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that would be really great. My nose is killing me. I really, really apologize for you having to listen to me sniff into the microphone. It's no better than my singing, but it's a little bit worse. My apologies, though. Yes, so on top of that, other questions that you want too, go ahead and join my Discord. You can find that on the YouTube channel as well. Join my Discord, and you can... Oh, also on my Twitch. I used to have a Twitch. I might do some streams on Twitch. I know Twitch isn't being really great to the content creators on there. I might. Don't expect it, but I might do it. But I'd like to get my Discord out onto the YouTube channel, so you guys can join my Discord, and you guys can ask questions on there. I have my Discord pulled up right here. Yeah, I have different merch that people on my Discord can buy. It's kind of like a Discord privilege. I make music hoodies and stuff like that. I want to make a Tactical Den hoodie. That'll be awesome. So while you guys are, chowing down on some snacks, listen to the podcast, you can be comfy wearing a Tactical Den hoodie. I'm going to be wearing a Tactical Den hoodie. I'm going to make a Tactical Den hoodie. It'll have a black beret on it. That'd be awesome. With a guitar, a black beret, a skull on the back with you guys get what I'm saying. You know the picture. So that'd be really awesome. So you guys can purchase those if you guys join the Discord. Those are awesome. I'm going to have one. Puric's going to have one. Pixel's going to have one. Anyone on my podcast gets one as a gift. So they'll be wearing those. And if you listen to the podcast, might as well buy one. Hit the merch up. I'll have pictures of it on the merch section. I'll have photos of it, and you can like pick one up on the Discord. So that'll be awesome. As of now, I don't make enough with the podcast, with my music, to run a website. Once I do, I can run a website, and you can just go on the website and purchase the hoodies and the merchandise and stuff like that. But as I said, I'm going to have photos on the Discord, so you guys want to join the Discord, go ahead and do that. Any questions that you have, put it on the bottom of this podcast, and that'll be really awesome. Also, I hope you guys liked the intro to the podcast. It took me a little bit to make that. It was something that I was like, I wasn't too sure about what I wanted it to sound like, but I felt like that was a good, like, in between, like a good mix of, like, you know, melody to beat to sounding kind of dope. I just thought it sounded cool. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I just was like, oh, this sounds awesome. So I used that, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. I wanted to also put it there for like an ending of the podcast too. I thought that would be cool. As I said, right now, this podcast that you're listening to right now is kind of just like that welcome to the podcast. This is what the goal is for the podcast. This is what I'm thinking. These are my thoughts, and you get to listen to me while I'm sick. So I think it's a win-win all around. So that's based and cool. We're also going to be making based hoodies. I'm kidding, that was a joke. We'll probably be making based beanies. Those are better. Someone could be like, based Tactical Dead Podcast. The merch is going to come out for this, and it's going to be so awesome. It's going to be so cool. I had a list of things I wanted to talk about on the podcast and stuff like that, and I completely forgot it. So I'm winging it at this point, and you guys get to listen to my thought process. Going back to things I wanted to add to the podcast. I like to ramble. So there's going to be podcasts where it's just me and the guys talking. I know some people out there. Personally, I'm one of them. I like listening to podcasts of people talking. I do. I don't want it to be something that's like random, like it has no use like whatsoever, just like people like blabbering. But if it's something that I'm interested in and they're just talking about what I'm interested in, I want to hear it. I do. So if I am listening to someone talk about music, I like music. If I'm listening to someone talk about why they wrote a song, how they wrote a song, and then other people's opinions on that song, I'm all about it. I want to hear that. Something with Pixel and Puric, when we talk about the music and stuff like that, you're going to hear different people's opinions, like on both sides of the table. You're going to hear what Puric has to say, what Pixel has to say. You're going to have to hear what I have to say. And I think it's going to be great to just have everyone kind of sit down and then just all talk about music or whatever the topic of the podcast for that day is. And even when it comes to suggestions, if you guys have suggestions, put that down in the comments as well. And definitely follow the podcast. I know some of you guys are following the music, my music channel, but follow the podcast channel as well so we can have both of those grow. I'd love to see these things grow. Like by the end of the year, I want to put an effort into this and probably get it to 100 subs by the end of the year, which isn't a lot, but I'm not really doing it for like all of like the follows and stuff like that. I'm doing it because it's fun. I'm doing it because it gives me and my community of the people that listen to my music a way to hang out, a way to talk. I know people are out there that listen to my music. I know you guys exist. I have an Instagram. You guys can also follow that. People like my music on the Instagram. People like it on the YouTube. I know you guys exist. I know you guys are on the Spotify. And I want to hang out with you guys. I want to talk to you guys via podcast. I want you guys to ask questions. I want to answer the questions. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to grow with a fan base. Not a fan base as like, oh my gosh, like I'm a big fan of that, but like a community. I want to grow a community, I think that's really important, especially in today's day and age, to have a community of people that just talk to each other. I think that's wicked important. This podcast is going to be a shorter podcast due to the fact that it's just my first podcast and it's just me talking about what the podcast is going to be. I don't It's definitely not going to hit like over 30 minutes. It'll probably be around 20 minutes. So like, 5 minutes left or whatever. Semi. Coffee is delicious. So, okay. Give me 5 seconds. I'm going to go blow my nose so I'm not sniffing into like the microphone constantly. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, guys. Yeah, I actually stayed in from work today because that's how I feel. I feel that bad. But I've been needing to get this podcast out, so I decided to actually, stop being a little bitch and get it done. I can talk. Working-wise, my job requires a lot of focus, a lot of attention to detail. And right now, I can't. I can if I really force myself to. I'm the kind of person that's going to be like, oh, I can't do it. I can. But health-wise, it would have been better for me to just relax today and to work on something that I could still, that's productive, but that didn't strain me mentally and physically. So, guys, take care of your health. Please. Do it. It's important. And not just by not going into work when you're sick, but by doing things active. You don't have to work out constantly. I recommend you work out, but just do something. Go outside, go for a walk. It's nice. It's cold. It's getting cold. And that's going to build you mentally too. To go out into that cold and say, oh, this is cold. Just walk a mile. Walk a mile and come back. Just do it. Trust me, it's fun. And then when you come back, have a warm drink. Have some water, have a warm drink. I'm sipping on some coffee right now. I don't feel great. I'm sipping on some coffee. It doesn't really help with my sinuses or with the phlegm building up in my throat right now because I'm sick. My daughter got me sick. She's a brat. She wanted to whine constantly, and I had to pick her up. Children, right? Anyway, no, but she didn't feel good, so I was taking care of her, and then I inevitably got sick. Her mom decided to not get sick. She's like, you guys have terrible immune systems. I'm like, sure. But that's beside the point. Warm drinks. Get some warm drinks. Right now, I'm sipping on some coffee. It's terrible coffee. It's Folgers coffee. It's terrible. Absolutely disgusting. But it's coffee. Right? Yeah. And I'm actually keeping it warm on a hot plate that my fiance got me. She, it's a little cup warmer. You can put your cup on. It makes it nice and it keeps it warm. So you can sip on warm coffee. Not hot coffee. Warm coffee. I don't like warm coffee. I like hot coffee. But I drink it because I don't feel great. So that's what I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. Oh God, I'm so sorry for sniffing into the microphone. That must be so annoying. Or you guys like it and you're weird and you like ASMR. That's creepy. I know Puric will probably be listening to this right now and go like, oh, that's good stuff. He's weird. He's weird. Guys, he's weird. Okay? Weird. All right, moving forward. I'm going to talk about the Discord for a little bit, because that's going to be a place where the community can really get together. I'm going to be talking about different parts of the podcast I'm going to be talking to, and different things coming up into the podcast that you guys can talk about and discuss. And kind of the way that I have it, because I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, if you guys buy merch from the podcast or anything like that, show that you're following the podcast, post the podcast, and this goes for the music stuff too. Post that you guys are talking about this stuff in other people's chats, and you show a screenshot of that too. Then you get a special privilege role in the Discord, and you guys can go see little snip clips of different music, different parts of the podcast coming up, and stuff like that. So you guys can actually get special privileges by doing stuff like that and growing the community and helping to grow the community. Because it's not about how many followers or anything like that. It's just about the community. And I get that the community is kind of the followers, but it's like, it's not about followers. It's about talking to you guys. It's about having a community to talk to at the end of the day. You guys get what I'm saying? And then on top of that, maybe like in the future when I start doing gaming again, I've been kind of taking a break from gaming because my internet here is kind of ass, so I can't really game. But I used to, when I did streaming, I'd have people on the Discord be able to talk about what game they wanted to play next, and then we'd play that game together as a community. So that's another thing you guys can do after you join the Discord. We've also got some great memes on there too. There's a nice little shitpost channel on there, little, sub channel that has some great memes, great community on that as well. A lot of them are scary cringe. There's one dude in the Discord that I know personally. I used to work with him. He's a great dude, and he adds some, let's say, sketch. Yeah, sketch stuff, and stuff that makes you want to slap yourself in the face. For instance, this one right here says, OSHA violation and NSFW technically mean the same thing. Yeah, this is the guy we're dealing with. Be scared. I am. I know you guys should too. That's the community that I've built. Be scared of it. As am I, as the creator. Yeah. That's just a little taste of what's on there. We've got some voice channels, stuff like that. We'll probably be doing some online talking as well. We have a stream podcast voice channel on there too. As I said, people that have shared the podcast, people that buy merch, people that do stuff like that, they get special roles in the channel. There's a few people in there that have already done that. Pixel, even before he started to help me out and do this stuff, he was just a listener to my music and stuff like that, and a friend of mine. But he bought, he went and he sent a link to the music that I was making. It was a new album I was making onto his other server that he was in, and he got a really dope notebook piece of merch that was really awesome. And that was before he kind of started to help me out and kind of become part of like the helping. It's not really staff because it's not like that, but he would help me with my music stuff. He'd listen to my music. He'd be like, okay, this is what you need to change, is this and this. And so him and Puric have been really helpful in that regard. There's been some beanies, some hoodies and stuff like that I've sold that are really awesome. And then people that have that, they have the special roles that are really awesome. And I think that role is just called Patreon/donated, because that's what it was. I used to have a Patreon. I don't know if I'm going to get that up and running again. I might if you guys really want that. As I said, you guys can comment, stuff like that, and join the Discord and talk about that. So as I said, if you guys really want to see what the Discord's like, go ahead and join the Discord. If you guys don't like it, you can leave. I'm not stopping you from leaving, but if you want to join it, go ahead and join and have some fun on the Discord. It's been a while since it's been super duper active. It's not dead, but it's been a while since I've been doing stuff that revolves around the Discord besides just posting my music stuff in there when I come out with music. And we all know that that's limited because I've been doing some other things with my life. And I miss making music. I have an album coming out right now that I'm working on, so thank you guys for being patient with that. It is coming out, and I will be publishing that and putting out some teaser songs in the future. It's going to be hopefully one of the better albums that I've made. I like it. I'm looking forward to you guys liking it. Every song that's on that album, I've played for my daughter, and she approves. So if it's baby approved, so we'll see if you guys approve. And then on the podcast, we're going back to like different guests and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how many people are going to be on here. I know that Pixel and Puric are going to be the main people that are going to be helping me with the podcast. But who knows? I might have some more people on the podcast too that you guys can listen to as well. We can have different conversations about different stuff. That's going to be really awesome. So yeah, stick around for that. Guys, we've almost hit the 25-minute mark. And I said this podcast wasn't going to go over a half hour because it was the kind of welcoming podcast. So we're going to wrap it up here. As I said, guys, comment down below any questions that you guys have, and I'll answer that. I'll answer those questions in the next podcast. I'll talk about those in the next podcast. Anything that you just want to say, any suggestions, any tips and stuff like that. Besides not sniffing into the microphone, as I said, I didn't really feel great, so don't blame me for that. But also blame me for that because I was sniffing. But I'm sorry. Listen to the music, guys, and comment how terrible. I'm kidding. Yeah, enjoy you guys' day. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. It's been really great to have you guys. So thank you guys so much for listening. And I'll catch you in the next one. All right? Take it easy.